This is The Last of Us Part 2 in its early production phase. This footage is from 2017, at a point in development where Naughty Dog had a wildly different idea of what The Last of Us Part 2 would be, including a bigger focus on the open world. At the height of development, individual members of the team were forced to push out over 40 pages of dialogue every single day. Today, I will answer the question of how the development of The Last of Us Part 2 pushed the envelope of what a video game is, but also at the same time, irrevocably damaging every single person who helped achieve this level of excellence. Before I start, I will try my best to keep this spoiler free. I know the TV show is right around the corner and I don't want to spoil anything for the folks who are experiencing this for the first time. If anything is remotely related to spoilers, I'll call it out and have an on-screen timestamp you can skip to avoid them completely. With that being said, let's start at the very beginning. Development started right after The Last of Us 1 shipped in 2013, with the first thing Naughty Dog started working on being the reveal trailer. At this point, the game was in pre-production and Naughty Dog was targeting a spring 2018 release date for this game, which would have given them 5 years to develop and complete, which was a pretty sizable increase in development time from what the original Last of Us had. But just a few weeks after development started on The Last of Us Part 2, the team working on the sequel had to stop development and shift their focus to help finishing out Uncharted 4. Neil Druckmann said that just before he transitioned to helping out the Uncharted 4 team in full force, he just wanted to capture the spirit of the reveal trailer. And for the next 2 years, the Last of Us team would help finish Uncharted 4. But all they were thinking about during this time was keep working on the sequel to The Last of Us. Naughty Dog had a big problem on their hands though. Crunch was starting to really affect the team. Uncharted 4 had a massive reboot midway through development and all of the employees were working extremely long days in order to get the project out the door. This had such a negative impact on the team that by the end of development of Uncharted 4, almost 70% of the non-lead designers would quit due to stress caused by the immense pressure. Around this same time, the co-creator of the original Last of Us game, Bruce Straley, would announce his departure from the studio as well, leaving the sequel to be completely in the hands of Neil Druckmann, who became the president of Naughty Dog. Despite the challenges during its development, by November of 2016, Uncharted 4 had released and the team had officially begun full production on The Last of Us Part 2, starting with the work they had begun on the reveal trailer. Just a month later, they would announce The Last of Us Part 2 officially at PSX. Every time Naughty Dog shows off one of their games to the public, it has to be one of the best looking trailers in the industry. In this case, since the trailer was one of the first things to be worked on for the game, it forced the teams into defining the look of their game, the location where it takes place, the way Ellie looks, and the emotions that the game will try to invoke throughout the player's experience. In hopes of not repeating the same mistakes made during the development of Uncharted 4, Neil Druckmann and the other higher-ups at Naughty Dog came together and mapped out the entire game, with key milestone achievements defining their success. This is one of the most successful pre-production phases of development Naughty Dog ever had, with the entire beginning, middle, and end of the game being finalized during this phase. At this point, they seem to have come up with a solution to their crunch problem with a solid path to ensuring their teams wouldn't be forced into sacrificing their mental well-being. But unfortunately, this isn't how the story panned out. In reality, it got much, much worse. Naughty Dog wanted to keep the hype train going as the reveal trailer really started to garner excitement. They were originally targeting to show gameplay off during E3 of 2017, which was 6 months away from the original reveal trailer's release. And at this point, they were still very early in production, with most of the game still compromising of mostly prototypes. It was a bit scary for them at the time, but they wanted to keep growing fan excitement for the game and at the same time, allow the internal teams to really kick the project into gear as fast as they could. The original plan for the E3 2017 gameplay reveal would be a 2-minute cinematic followed by a 5-minute gameplay sequence of the festival from Jackson. Again, showing off this gameplay reveal would set the bar for the rest of the development of the game. At the same time as planning for this reveal was happening, the team was also finishing up the DLC expansion for Uncharted 4, which was set to ship around E3, which gave Naughty Dog only 2 weeks of the full studio's efforts behind this reveal trailer. The only solution to this, however, was to have the programmers work on both Uncharted 4's DLC and The Last of Us Part 2's development simultaneously. They were trying to ship a game and a demo at the same exact time. It was such an impossible task for them to do both at the same time. But thankfully, the leadership at Naughty Dog were able to come to their senses and realize that if this had happened, it would dramatically lessen the quality of both the demo and the Uncharted expansion. So they made the decision to delay the reveal of the game to E3 of 2018. But despite this, they still worked on the demo extensively, showing it off only internally, which would lock the gameplay and design by June of 2017. The higher-ups promised the team that once the demo was finalized by January of 2018, they would burn it to a disk and seal it up and never have to touch it again. But the higher-ups still wanted people to continue to get excited for the game. They still wanted to show something off in 2017, and despite the demo being pushed to next year, the teams would also be forced to work on another trailer to be released at the end of 2017 at the Paris Game Show. This time, showing the world the character of Abby for the first time in a 4-minute cinematic. And yet again, the entire team was being pushed to their limits here. By October of 2017, less than 2 weeks away from the Abby reveal trailer, Naughty Dog still had big ticket items to finish up in the trailer. But to the detriment of the health of the staff, Naughty Dog were able to finish up the trailer and showcase it during the Paris Game Show. Now, this development research video isn't about the rights or wrongs of having feminism in video games. There are a ton of videos out there about this topic. What I'm about to highlight here is how the creators of the game wanted to have their game feel like, and what influenced their decisions. It's up to you to come up with your own opinions of how this shaped the final product.
Here's what I hate about that article. I'm sorry. Do a modicum of fucking research, just a modicum of research, just like a little bit. Like, I like having a conversation about what power is. Does that make me less fucking female? I like working at a video game.
With that being said, the development of Abby was completely changed during the development of the 2017 trailer for her. In concept art, she was originally supposed to be more like Ellie in the way she looked with less muscular definition and facial expressions. But the higher-ups at Naughty Dog felt that she needed to resemble Joel in some ways, so they buffed her model up and made her look and play with more force and strength, including her moveset and combat encounters. At this point, designers had to rebuild how she played in-game from the ground up again, leading to extensive periods of crunch. Just like everything else during the development of this game, Neil Druckmann wanted to slightly revise the catalyst behind the main motive of Ellie's actions during the game. At this point, they had shot a pivotal scene and had the team edit it and made sure it was at the quality bar Neil wanted it to be at, which he would give his approval for. And then the next day, there would be another version of the same exact scene that the team had to recreate. The team would do the same intensive work on a new scene and then have them get Neil's attention in order to get the green light. They would set up meetings for him so that they could continue to work on their other mountain of other tasks, of which also needed Neil's approval every single time. The team would set up cameras, different positions of video, and what their edited versions of scenes looked like.
I got bad news.
Mail yours this.
He's canceling? He's canceled.
But we had the cameras set. He's supposed to come in. He's the
Actually,
Fine.
it's
I'll
good
do
we're
it.
getting this on camera. This is what it's not about.
This is what it's about.
Yeah, he has some melee stuff to review today. He said let's pick it up tomorrow.
So yeah, that's what happens. And so it's like, okay, all right, that's fine. I don't care. Yeah.
Quite often, Neil would be pulled into other things he has to review at the same time and delay giving the green light on certain scenes, leading the team to have to wait for him to approve their work before finishing a scene, which caused massive delays in ensuring all of their work gets completely finished on time, especially with tight deadlines. Remember the E3 2018 demo I talked about earlier in this video? The one where the higher-ups at Naughty Dog locked and sealed it by January of 2018 to make sure their teams wouldn't be forced to crunch on it? Well, in May of 2018, less than a month before the demo was being shown off, Neil wanted to revisit the demo and have the team pull in all of their new advancements they've made since then into the presentation. But pulling in these new changes would completely break the demo. Designers wanted to go back and open up the demo a bit more, the combat sequences were getting too cramped, and the assets weren't really showing off the full capability of quote-unquote next-gen. According to Jason Schreier, who wrote a report on the crunch of Naughty Dog during the development of The Last of Us Part 2, by the end of 2018, most departments at the studio were in full crunch mode, spending extra hours at the office to keep up with all of their tasks. People had to work late because they had more to do than they could fit into a standard workday. Employees would come in wearing sick masks so they can keep working even with bad coughs. There was the designer who couldn't leave until they received feedback from the director, who were tied up in meetings all day and couldn't look at the build until 6 or 7 p.m. There was the animator who got stuck at the office waiting for their work to be implemented in the game by scripters and designers. There were artists giving one another assignments, explosions and gunshots, and hey, could you make it so this cutscene looks just right? The worst part of the crunch culture at this point was that despite the staff working unhealthy working schedules on portions of the game for weeks on end, they would ultimately find out that their work was entirely for nothing, as higher-ups have decided to cut or overhaul their work completely, and they wouldn't have even found out for days or weeks that their work was trashed. The Naughty Dog team was officially in full crunch mode again. The first ship date of the game was for spring of 2018, which eventually got pushed back to winter of 2019 in 2017. Well, now spring of 2019 was here, and the teams still had massive amounts of work to do. Everybody on the team felt that the winter of 2019 release date was just not realistic with how big the game was shaping to be, and the amount of work that still wasn't complete. The staff was at the height of putting in long, grueling hours. This absolutely was having a negative impact on the development of the game, so Neil decided to delay it by 3 months to February of 2020. But this delay wouldn't be without consequences. Since the higher-ups wanted to continue to have hype for the game and remain high, they requested the team make 2 major press demos and a trailer, while they were working hard at finishing up the entire game. By November of 2019, with the new February release date, the whole studio was exhausted. There were times where individual contributors were writing 40 pages of dialogue every single night. And to make matters worse, as the team was working towards content completion and almost achieving it, COVID hit, and everybody had to work from home. But Naughty Dog was never built to be a studio that had the ability to work from home. The game was in only one location, at the studio, in a server that can only be accessed while at the facility. And at the same time, Sony's ability to publish the game was also shut down, as the pandemic had an impact on the creation of physical discs. So Naughty Dog had to delay the game indefinitely. At the same time, Naughty Dog was going fully remote around February of 2020, leaks of the game started emerging. At first, it was mainly just gameplay clips of mechanics and small tidbits of cutscenes from the game, but eventually, one clip got leaked that set the entire internet on fire. This clip does contain spoilers, so if you're trying to avoid them, skip to the timestamp on screen now. The death of Joel was put out for anybody to see. Not only was Joel's death available to watch, but Abby was also seen as the person who killed him. And we got leaked clips of gameplay as Abby during this time too. At this point, the entire internet was completely against the idea of this event occurring. Not only were they against it, everybody was furious. The Last of Us community was asking themselves, if Naughty Dog had ruined this game, which is a pretty fair reaction to have. Killing off Joel, the primary character of the game, and having you play as the character that killed him was a major change in what we've experienced from the first game. The person who leaked this video said that the only reason why they did it was that they were a fan of the game and wanted to force Naughty Dog to release the game sooner. Immediately following the leaks, Naughty Dog would put out a statement stating that no matter what the leaks were, the final experience would be worth the wait and to drown out the leaks. But the damage was already done. The Last of Us Part 2 already had a negative reaction to the story before the game even came out. But despite this, Naughty Dog was still able to finalize the game within the next couple of months and ship it to players in June of 2020. The game, from start to finish, prioritized getting this out to players at the detriment and deterioration of the health of the staff, only for it to be completely filled with hatred and disdain for the studio just 2 months out of release. The opinion of the entire Last of Us franchise had been tarnished for eternity. After releasing the game, Naughty Dog was forced to completely reinvent the way they made games, not because they wanted to, but because the pandemic forced them to accompany remote work. Since at this point, they were drastically changing their work style, they also took this time to figure out why crunch was happening at the studio and how to stop it going forward. They brought on the principal level role, which helped separate each team out into their individual buckets more, and instead of consistently being pressured to polish things, they now had the ability just to say, this is what our team was able to accomplish during this time, and that's it. As much as I dislike the reason why this game leaked, it's a bit interesting to look back at it with the full development history of the game in mind. On one hand, you had a team that was being grinded down in order to add more features and endless revisions, causing the development timeline to balloon massively. And on the other hand, you had a person who had a technical background trying to figure out anything they possibly could about this game because they were so excited to play it and they had no idea this level of crunch was happening, which was causing the massive development timeline. It seems that in an effort to make this game as perfect as it could possibly be at the health of their staff, the higher-ups at Naughty Dog were blindsided by the fact that they wouldn't just be causing a negative impact on their workers, but also their fans. Going forward, we don't know if these pledges to eliminate crunch from their games has taken shape. It's been almost 5 years since Naughty Dog released The Last of Us Part 2, and during this time, they were working on a Last of Us Online experience. The game would ultimately be cancelled in 2023, and Naughty Dog would shift focus of their studio towards a brand new IP, Intergalactic, with a teaser trailer shown off at the end of 2024. Will the studio be forced into long hours again for this game? Only time will tell. But if there's one key takeaway from this video, it's that despite Naughty Dog consistently pushing the envelope of what a game is, how will they do it without imploding their teams again? If you guys liked this video, it would mean a lot if you subscribed and dropped a like down below. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, and hitting that goal would mean you guys actually like these videos and allow me to make even more. There's still lots of stories of game development I'd like to tell, and your support is paramount to me making these. If you guys have any suggestions on what game I should cover next, feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you want to check out what the development behind the first Last of Us game was like, I'll have that linked here too. Thank you.